Have you ever waited for a message that never came? Have you ever cared so deeply about someone that you forgot to care about yourself? You told yourself, maybe they're busy, maybe I'm asking for too much, maybe if I try harder, they will stay. But what if the truth is this? The right people never need to be chased. And what if the pain you're feeling right now is not because you're unworthy, but because you've been giving your value to people who never learned how to hold it? Today's story is not just a story. It is a mirror. It is a reminder, and it might be the moment you finally choose yourself. This is the story of a girl who gave her heart freely until she learned the most powerful lesson of all. Respect yourself first. In a quiet place, far from noise and rushing crowds, there was a peaceful valley where mornings arrived slowly and evenings whispered instead of shouting. People called it Rivermist. And in that valley lived a young woman named Mira. Mira was known for one thing above all else. She cared. She cared when others were tired. She listened when others spoke. She stayed when others left. If someone needed help, Mira was there. If someone needed comfort, Mira understood. If someone needed time, Mira gave it, even when she had none left for herself. She believed kindness was her strength, and in many ways it was. But Mira never learned where kindness should end and self-respect should begin. She answered messages instantly, even when they replied days later. She apologized for her feelings, even when they were valid. She waited patiently, even when patience slowly turned into pain. Inside her heart, Mira believed something very deeply. If I give enough, if I love enough, if I stay soft enough, people will stay too. But what Mira didn't realize was how quietly she was disappearing while trying to keep others comfortable. At night, when the valley fell silent, Mira would sit by her window, watching the moon reflect on the river. She would replay conversations in her mind. Did I say too much? Did I ask for too much? Was I not enough today? And each time, she reached the same conclusion. I just need to try harder. She never blamed others, she blamed herself. Because Mira didn't want to believe that some people enjoy being cared for, but never intend to care back. She didn't want to accept that love given without respect slowly becomes self-betrayal. So she kept giving, and giving, and giving, until one day, she felt something she had never felt before. Not anger, not hatred, but emptiness. The kind of emptiness that asks a quiet question. Who is taking care of me? And that question would change everything. Mira didn't notice it at first. It never starts loudly. It never announces itself. It begins with small delays, longer pauses, shorter replies. People she once laughed with now answered with silence. Conversations that once flowed now felt forced. And so Mira did what she had always done. She tried harder. She sent the first message, then the second, then the apology, even when she didn't know what she had done wrong. She told herself stories to survive the waiting. They're busy, they're tired, they'll respond later. But later often never came. Still, she waited. She watched the sun rise and set with her phone resting beside her, hoping for a small sign that she mattered. A single word, a simple question, anything. And when nothing came, she didn't walk away. She chased. Not with her feet, but with her heart. She lowered her expectations. She softened her needs. She made herself smaller, hoping it would make staying easier for them. What Mira didn't realize was that every step she took toward them pulled her one step further away from herself. She was present for everyone, but no one was truly present for her. And deep inside, a quiet fear grew. If I stop trying, will anyone choose me? So she kept chasing, not because she was weak, but because she cared. And caring without boundaries is how the kindest hearts get the hurt the most. There was one evening Mira would never forget. The sky was calm, the valley was quiet, everything looked peaceful. But inside her, something was breaking. She had sent a message earlier that day. Not a demand, not a complaint, just honesty. She waited. Minutes passed, then hours, then night arrived. And still, nothing. For the first time, Mira didn't feel sad. She felt invisible. And that hurt more than tears ever could. She stared at the silence and suddenly understood something painful. Silence is an answer. Not because people are cruel, but because their priorities are clear. In that moment, Mira stopped asking why they didn't respond and started asking something else. Why am I chasing someone who doesn't choose me? That question echoed louder than any unanswered message. She realized how often she had abandoned herself just to avoid being abandoned by others. How she had begged for space in hearts that were already full of something else. And for the first time, she didn't feel angry at them. She felt sad for herself. Because she had been teaching people that her time, her feelings, her presence were optional. That night, Mira didn't send another message. She didn't explain, she didn't beg, she didn't chase. She simply sat with the truth. And though it hurt, there was something new in the pain. Clarity. Because sometimes the moment you stop running after people is the moment you finally hear yourself. And Mira heard a quiet voice inside her say, "You deserve more than almost. You deserve more than waiting. You deserve more than being an option." That was the night the chasing stopped, and the healing quietly began. The next morning, Mira walked alone. Not because she was lonely, but because she needed silence. The valley of Rivermist welcomed her the way it always had, without questions, without expectations. The river flowed calmly, never rushing, never chasing its own reflection. The mountains stood still, never begging the sky to notice them. And in that quiet, Mira began to understand something she had never been taught before. Nothing in nature chased what was meant to stay. The river didn't run after the rain. The trees didn't follow the sun. The valley didn't call out for visitors. Everything belonged without trying. Mira sat beside the river and felt the weight she had been carrying. All those messages, all that waiting, all that self-doubt. She asked herself a simple question. When did love become exhausting? The answer came gently. Love was never meant to feel like proving your worth. Love was never meant to feel like anxiety. Love was never meant to make you feel small. And for the first time, Mira allowed herself to stop defending people who hurt her. Not with anger, but with honesty. She realized that she had been confusing effort with value. She thought chasing meant caring, but caring should never cost your peace. As the wind passed through the valley, it felt like the world was whispering a truth she had avoided for too long. If someone has to be chased, they were never meant to stay. Mira closed her eyes and let that truth settle. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave it meaning. Some truths don't arrive gently. They arrive like a quiet ache that refuses to leave. Mira finally accepted what she had feared most. Some people enjoyed being wanted, but never planned on staying. They liked the attention, the comfort, the reassurance, but not the responsibility. And Mira had given all of it freely. She realized that every time she chased someone who walked away, she was telling herself a painful lie, that I am not enough as I am. But that lie was never hers to carry. The truth was simpler and harder. People choose what they value, and no amount of overgiving can change someone's priorities. Mira grieved, not just for the people she lost, but for the version of herself who believed love had to be earned. She mourned the energy she spent, the nights she waited, the self-respect she placed on hold. But in that grief, something powerful began to rise: acceptance. Not the kind that excuses mistreatment, but the kind that releases illusion. She understood now. Walking away from someone who doesn't choose you is not rejection, it is self-respect. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. And though the truth hurt, it did not break her, it freed her. Because the moment Mira stopped chasing, she stopped bleeding. And in that stillness, she finally made a promise to herself. I will never abandon myself again to keep someone else comfortable. After the truth settled in her heart, Mira made a choice. A small, quiet choice, but one that would change everything. She stopped explaining herself. She stopped apologizing for her feelings. She stopped sending the first message. It wasn't easy. Her hands itched to type. Her heart wanted to reach out, and her mind whispered, maybe they'll come back if I try one more time. But this time, Mira listened to a different voice, the one inside that had always been there, soft, steady, patient. The voice said, "You are not responsible for anyone's happiness but your own. You are not optional. You are essential." And with every heartbeat, Mira began to understand. Self-respect is not pride. It is protection. It is love for oneself. She realized that boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to the right people. She began to honor her time. She began to honor her feelings. She began to honor herself. It felt strange at first, almost lonely, almost selfish. But Mira felt a spark, a quiet, burning spark of freedom. For the first time, she did not wait. She did not chase. She simply allowed herself to exist, fully, calmly, completely. And in that choice, she began to heal. At first, the valley felt emptier than before. Mira walked its paths alone. The river flowed. The mountains stood tall. The wind whispered in spaces once filled with voices. The silence was unfamiliar. The quiet was unsettling. She missed the attention, the comfort, the sense of being needed. It hurt. Loneliness is a teacher, and Mira was learning fast. She learned that missing people does not mean they are worth holding on to. She learned that peace does not arrive immediately. It arrives slowly, like dawn. She felt moments of doubt, moments when she wondered if she had given up too soon, if she had been too cold, too distant, too brave. But she kept walking, kept breathing, kept listening. And slowly, the valley began to feel different. Not empty, not quiet, but calm, safe. Mira discovered that being alone was not loneliness. It was freedom. She no longer defined herself by who stayed or who left. She defined herself by her own presence, by her own choice. And for the first time in her life, she realized that her heart did not need to chase love. Love would come to her if it was meant to stay. Days passed. The valley remained quiet, but Mira's heart began to change. She found herself smiling, not for others, but for herself. She spent mornings walking by the river, feeling the sun warm her face. She noticed small things she had missed before: the glimmer of dew on leaves, the gentle ripple of water, the songs of birds that seemed to welcome her. Mira discovered that healing is not a sudden storm. It is a quiet sunrise, slow, patient, inevitable. She started doing things she loved, not because someone would notice, but because they nourished her soul. She read books, she painted, she laughed at her own silly jokes. For the first time, Mira realized she was enough. Not when someone acknowledged her, not when someone chose her, not when someone stayed. She was enough simply because she existed. And in that realization, a new strength rose inside her, a quiet confidence that whispered, "I do not need permission to value myself. I do not need approval to be happy. I do not need anyone to stay who doesn't want to." The valley mirrored her change. Where once she felt emptiness, now there was space. Space to breathe, to grow, to be free. Mira understood that being whole again was not about the people who left, but about the love she chose to give herself. Life, Mira realized, has its own rhythm. Some people walk away, some stay for a while, and some return, not because you begged them, but because life guided them back. One afternoon, Mira received a message, a familiar name, a familiar face. But she didn't rush to reply. She didn't panic. She didn't hope. She paused. She listened to the voice inside her heart, the one that had grown strong and steady. And she understood. This was not a test. This was clarity. The people who returned did not need to be chased. They chose to come back. And Mira treated them differently now. She welcomed them, not out of fear, but from love tempered with wisdom. She offered her presence fully, but she did not sacrifice her peace. She offered her heart freely, but she did not ignore her own worth. Because Mira knew something crucial. The right people never need to be chased. They choose to stay. She smiled at the valley, at the river, at the mountains, and at herself. For she had learned the most important lesson of all. To respect yourself first is to invite the world to respect you too. Mira stood at the edge of the river one morning. The water shimmered under the rising sun, flowing freely, unburdened. She realized then that the valley had always been teaching her, even when she wasn't listening. The river never forces itself to reach the ocean. It flows at its own pace. It travels where it must, and it returns to where it belongs. The mountains never chase the clouds. They stand tall, patient, unwavering, and yet the clouds still find their path around them. Everything in Rivermist moved in balance. Everything respected its own journey. Everything knew its value. And Mira understood she was the same. She didn't need to chase. She didn't need to plead. She didn't need to shrink herself to make others comfortable. Self-respect is not just a lesson. It is a practice, a choice, a life lived with dignity. Mira had learned that people come and go. Some leave, some stay. But the ones who truly belong never need to be pursued. And the most important person to stay with is yourself. The valley whispered its quiet approval, the wind carried her peace, and Mira finally smiled, knowing she had found the freedom she had been chasing all along. Maybe, like Mira, you've been giving more than you receive. Maybe, like Mira, you've been waiting for someone who never truly wanted to stay. It's time to stop. Stop chasing people who walk away. Stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Stop forgetting your own worth. Respect yourself first. Value your time. Honor your heart. The right people do not need to be chased. They choose to stay. And the most important love you will ever experience is the love you give to yourself. So take a deep breath. Let go of what no longer serves you. Stand tall and walk forward knowing this. You are enough. You are worthy, and you deserve to be respected, cherished, and loved without compromise.